division was absolutely stacked at the time as well. You know, you had guys like Thiago Alves, who was wrecking people. John Fitch, tough guy. He was one of the only guys to beat him during the run that he was having. And then we had the huge fight, paved the way for the title versus title matches that we see today. BJ Penn, you know, that was something that really was out of the ordinary at that time. What was it like fighting a guy that was doing the same thing in the lower weight class, in the lightweight division?
I think the best fighter that I have fought, pound for pound, I think it's BJ Penn. For the time being, I think he was when he was in his prime, he was the perfect fighter, and he was a hell of a puzzle to solve. I remember the first fight I had with him, he gave me the worst beating I ever had in a fight. You know, even though I won in a split decision, it took me a few days to recuperate from that fight. I was at the hospital. I was bloody. I was a mess, but I learned a lot from it. And the second time I fought him, I did a better performance.
Yeah, and then when you look at some of the biggest nights in your career, the Toronto one stands out, and it's not one that people talk about a lot, the Jake Shields fight, right? Because I remember when that fight was happening 11 years ago, 2011, the UFC had never done a stadium show like that, and it was the first one in Toronto as well. Absolutely huge for the sport. What was that like walking out of that stadium that night? It must have been tremendous.
Yeah, it feels very strange. I mean, I remember walking to the octagon. It feels like, because normally the shows are in an arena, but this show was in a stadium in front more than 50,000 people. So it was just a different atmosphere. But I always told myself, when something is strange and it's unknown, for me, it is strange and unknown for my opponent as well. So I don't see that as a disadvantage. I see it as a neutral thing, and it's the one that will adapt himself the best to the environment that will succeed, that has the odds to succeed the best.
Yeah, because he was coming through as Strikeforce champion as well. We had a similar sort of thing where we had in 2007 with the Pride acquisition. We had the Strikeforce guys coming through. A lot of them guys did end up having success, like Luke Rockhold ended up winning the middleweight title. So that was a real big fight feel with that one, with the Jake Shields fight. And then after that one, the Nick Diaz one, part of the Strikeforce acquisition. That was a fun one for the fans. Everyone wanted to see it from the Where You At, George promo that he cut. You're a very cool, calm and collected man. What was it like having the Diaz bros on you like that?
I never took it personal. For me, a fight, it's strictly business. There is no fighter that I have fought that I have a negative attitude towards. Like, I like all the guys that I've fought because we share a moment, we share a bond that I will remember forever. And any of those guys today, if they are in trouble, it would be my pleasure to help them. You know what I mean? For sure, when you fight someone to promote the fight, you know, there's the mental game, you know, the trash talking and all that, but it never affect me, and I don't take it personal.
What was your outlook on the other divisions at the time, you know, because you came through a time where champions were just dominating the divisions for a while. Yourself, BJ, as we mentioned, Anderson Silva. Were you looking at those guys and drawing inspiration from them, even though obviously you are your own source of inspiration, but it's a different time because now you see belts passing from quite frequently in comparison to previous times. It seemed inconceivable that you or Anderson Silva would lose your belt during those times.
The records are made to be broken. There will be guys that will beat the title defense record 100%. It will happen sooner or later. For me, I look up to all my predecessors. Mark Coleman, Dan Severn, you know, Tito Ortiz, Randy Couture, especially Royce Gracie. These guys, the old guys, the older guys, they're the one that paved the way for us to make a living with this. So for me, my heart, I have a very warm and special feeling when I meet these guys. So I'm just as much of a big fan than I'm sure any one of you when I meet one of these guys out there, you know?
Yeah, it is awesome. It's awesome to have all you guys here as well, because I was just talking to Arnold Allen as well, someone that you know very well. Just touching upon the UK scene right now, I'm guessing you're in touch with the sport as often as we are. The UFC London card that we just had, it couldn't be, I can speak for everyone in this room, it couldn't be a more exciting time to be a UK MMA fan. We have so many possible future champions. Paddy Pimblett, Tom Aspinall, Arnold Allen, Molly McCann with an absolutely crazy knockout. How excited are you about these crop of talent coming through?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of talent here. It's incredible. Future champion materials, for sure. However, sometimes being a champion, it's not a straight line. I've seen in my life guys that are very talented, but maybe because they made the wrong choice in life, their career took a wrong turn, you know? So it takes more than talent and hard work. You need the stars to be aligned. I mean, it's something very special, but United Kingdom definitely got a lot of talent. This is for sure. Championship material, 100%.
If you had to pinpoint one of those people that I just mentioned, who excites you the most in the UK scene right now?
I like Arnold Allen, Tom Aspinall, the way they fight, it's incredible. What a performance they had in their last fight. They are on a tear right now.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. And then it's so awesome to see you with Carlos Condit and Michael Bisping, your former opponents. We're going to be speaking to both those guys today. Condit, what a war that was. He was on an incredible run of just finishing guys left, right, and center. He beat Nick Diaz that year and got the interim belt, so we had a belt versus belt fight. Tough matchup, weren't it? It was a tough war that you had with that one.
Oh yeah, he's one of the guys that knocked me down with a crazy head kick. And I remember when that happened, for a split second, I kind of lost consciousness, and I woke up when I was sitting on the floor. Like I had like a flash knockdown, and I saw him running towards me, and I told myself, I say, oh shit, I'm not gonna get knocked out, hell no. So I went in the guard, I protect myself, I weathered the storm, and I was able to get back in the fight.
Yeah, you showed tremendous aggression in that fight as well. The ground and pound was absolutely crazy. You cut him open quite early, didn't you? There was a lot of blood in that fight. And then moving forwards past that, we mentioned Michael Bisping as well. Come back to the middleweight division and you come and get the 185-pound belt. Just talking about Bisping's situation, I know you was part of that documentary, just talking about his tremendous journey. What a warrior that guy is.
Oh, he is probably the craziest and the toughest man. He's a true soldier, like a true gladiator. It's unbelievable. Like the movie, the 300, you know, he's ready to give it all, you know. It's truly a modern-day Spartan.
We couldn't be prouder of him here in this country, a true pioneer of the sport, and him winning the belt was one of the best moments ever as a UK MMA fan. Just talking about the extent of the eye injury that he had, in the documentary we now know that it was quite a lot worse than what he let on. Did you know how bad his eye was at that time? And if you did, would it have changed you wanting to have that fight with him? Would you have felt a bit morally on the ropes?
I didn't know at the time, and I don't think nobody knows, because as a professional fighter, you always want to hide your weakness. However, when you look at someone's past fight, you try to identify some of his hole, you know. And like every fighter have different holes in their game, you know. And I knew that Michael had a hole in his game, so I tried to exploit it. But I didn't know it was because of that cause, because of the problem with that he lost an eye. I knew he had issues, but I didn't know what was exactly the cause of it. Sometimes some fighters, they call it blind spot. They have harder time to see punches that are coming from the upper left side. Some it's lower right side. You know, everybody is different. But you try to explore those weaknesses. You know.
Obviously, if if he'd have told the extent of the eye, he probably wouldn't have been able to fight, and we see that in the documentary. Now looking back on it, does it change anything for you with that? Because it was tough, man, what he had to go through, wasn't it? It was real tough.
Oh yeah, it shows how tough and how much of a warrior he is, 100%.
And then we have to talk about the Marvel stuff, man. I mean, your transition to the world of cinema was absolutely incredible. First up, popping up in the Winter Soldier movie, fighting Chris Evans, Captain America himself. What was it like with the choreographed fight scenes, going from a martial arts background, going into the world of cinema? What was that like?
Well, it's very different. When you fight for real, you don't want to telegraph your punches. But when you fight for the camera, you need to do everything bigger, you know, to exaggerate everything, to make it look better. Because otherwise, if you make it small, like a real fight, it doesn't look good on camera. So I had to adjust myself for that. And also, it's been 4 years. I'm having acting classes, so I'm working a lot on my game. I've done some gig in the past, but I was too busy fighting. So I didn't really practice my acting game, but now it's been 4 years now. During I've done the Winter Soldier, but I've done also a series on Disney Plus, the channel, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So now I've been practicing a lot my game, and it shows a little bit. You know, a lot of guys have helped me for that.
You're one of the most respectful, well-spoken guys in the UFC. So to see you go into a Marvel badass character was pretty cool. Did you just outright want to say, like, I want to play villainous roles, I want to go out of my comfort zone here?
I rather play villain than good guys in movie, because I always thought that the villain are more charismatic. And for me, I try to be, you know, I'm by no means a perfect person, but I try to be a good role model in front of people, to showcase a good example, good image. But I like the fact that if I'm playing a character in a movie, I'm the opposite. I'm like the bad guy. And normally it seems to be that they want me to be the bad guy. I don't know why. Maybe because I'm my background, my French background, I guess. I have no idea, but I like it.
It works, and it's a great mindset to have, man. I read that you would very much be interested in working in Star Wars as well, like another big franchise. Are there any other big franchises that maybe are on the table? You had any discussions? And yeah, what would be the ideal scenario for what's next for GSP?
I'm actually coming back in Britain after, in UK after, because I'm shooting in a movie. I'm playing a hitman, so it's I have a few opportunities like this, and I'll take it. And yeah, my dream would be one day to play in the franchise of Star Wars. That would be for me my dream, you know, a dream come true.
That would be unbelievable. Just finally, I have to ask, George, because you're always looking in tremendous shape, and the Khabib fight was always discussed. There's been other fights that have been discussed. Could we actually ever see you back in the octagon, or are you done for good now? Is it done?
It's exactly the same reason why the Anderson Silva fight never happened. It's the UFC. The UFC could have made it, but they had other plan. It's always a question of timing. And at the time that we wanted to make the fight happen, they had other plan for how things will go down. It's unfortunate for the fans and for us, because that's why we wanted both to happen. But UFC, it's a business, and sometimes they have to do what is good for their business and not necessarily what is good for the fighters, you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. And just in terms of any guys that you see today that you would have loved to have tested yourself back in your heyday, back in your prime, you look at guys like Kamaru Usman, Conor McGregor, Colby Covington, even Nate Diaz. Are those sort of names where you look and think, I would have loved to have gone up against those guys?
Yeah, I'm a very proud competitor, and I think as a proud competitor, you want to be fighting the best guys, because that's how you create your legacy. You don't want an easy way. You know what I mean? You want to be challenged. You want to be tested against the best talent in the world. And for sure, when I was competing, that's what I wanted at the time, and that's what I was always looking for. But it takes three entities to make the fight happen. It takes one fighter, the other fighter, and the third entity is the organization, the UFC.
Awesome. I'm gonna open it up to the fans now, but I just want to say what an honor it is to speak to you. I'm a fan of George, just like all of you guys. Collected the DVD, stayed up late at night in the UK to watch your fight. So thank you so much for your time, George, and I really appreciate it. Let's get a round of applause for George.